So now I would like to ask Božena, who is a visual artist from Croatia, to present her work that she did in collaboration with Galerija Miroslav Kraljević and with Gallery Siva Zona from Korčula. And she collaborated with high school children in Korčula, and I think this is very interesting also because of the rescue project that also has this base on collaboration with school children and artists. Yes, Božena, just to mention briefly that you have a degree in German and Russian language and literature from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences in Zagreb. And she also enrolled in BFA in the printmaking department of the Academy of Fine Arts in Zagreb. There have been numerous solo and group exhibitions that she participated on. And recently she has been also in artist in residence programs like Museum Quartier 21 in Vienna, also Grey Area and GMK in Korčula, and Kunstaspekte Kulturamt in Düsseldorf. So Božena, please, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Irena. I will try to share my screen first. Thank you for a short introduction. I will talk here about my artistic research on industrial heritage of Vela Luka. This is a small town on island of Korčula. I was invited in 2017 by cultural anthropologists and art historians Lea Vene from Galerija Miroslav Kraljević in Zagreb and Marija Borovičkić from Grey Area Association for Contemporary and Media Art based in Korčula. They invited me to join the project of industrial heritage of island of Korčula that was officially launched in 2014 when Lea and Maria started to make series of interviews with former workers to digitize and collect archival materials. But unofficially, this project started already in 2010 when Maria began to record memories of her grandmother, who had worked in fish processing factory in Vela Luka. You can see this factory here on this photo. Vela Luka is a small town on island of Korčula with approximately 4,000 inhabitants. And in the first half of 20th century, its economy was based on agriculture, and then in the second half of the century, it was based on industry. There were several factories in Vela Luka, and in my research, I focused primarily on this fish processing factory Jadranka, and on another factory that was actually initially part of Jadranka factory, and in 1965 it was separated from it, and it became a new factory named Ambalaža, or 8. Mart was the full name of it. So in both of these factories, women made up 80% of the workforce. And the Jadranka factory was very successful during the period of the late 1960s and 70s. The production grew during this period, and these period of accelerated industrialization resulted, of course, in increased employment and in improved working conditions, and it at the same time transformed local space. It transformed the city. It created foundations for the infrastructure that is still in function today. Here you can see some of products they were made. And then during the period of transition, of course, dramatic changes happened to the local economy of the Vela Luka in general, and this Jadranka factory and Ambalaža factory, they collapsed during the 2000s. Jadranka closed in 2005 and Ambalaža in a few years later. All workers lost their jobs. And here you can see how does it look today. This is Ambalaža factory. It is used temporarily by some local amateur associations, but it is not known who owns it at the time. So since my first visit to Korčula in 2017, it was clear to me that I want to do some kind of participatory project with local population, with local community, and we were thinking also about how to bring this heritage, industrial heritage, to younger generations, because this memory started to fade, and the workshop with local school children seemed to be a perfect format to do it. So we organized this workshop with the school children in Vela Luka at the primary school in 2018, and it lasted 6 days. And 17 school children participated in this workshop. We started with an introduction on the first day, where we talked about local industrial heritage. We presented them ethnographic materials, archival photographs, interviews, and so on. And also we tried to encourage them to talk to their family members who maybe had worked in those factories, or who maybe know someone who had worked there. And then on the second day, we made a tour through abandoned factory premises. You can see here the children in front of this Ambalaža factory. We also organized a meeting and interview with former worker who used to work in both factories, in Ambalaža and in Jadranka. Children could take photographs. They made notes and collected discarded packaging of this fish tins. And then we were back to school and actually continued with the practical work. Children, the recommended principle of work was to combine photographic templates, texts, and their own drawings. And on the 6th day, we organized an exhibition where we showed these works that were created during the workshop, and relatives and friends and members of local community were invited to the exhibition. It was some kind of public event open for everybody who was interested in. And then in 2020, last year, we decided to publish the works from this workshop in some kind of artist book. I will show you some of the works. These 20 works can be divided in three groups, in three thematic blocks. The first one is about the period immediately after the Second World War. The children were working there with material, with ethnographic material, with archival photographs, and with the interviews, with fragments of interviews with the oldest workers who worked there. And I think they chose those fragments from those interviews because the most strongest and the most detailed memories relate to this post-war Fabrika. And those oldest workers were at the time after the Second World War very young girls who were actually, who started to work there even before ending their 4-year school, primary school education. So this is maybe the reason that that their memories evoked actually ambivalent feelings, and the works of children reflect this. On the one hand, they talk about this very difficult working conditions. One of these oldest workers said, "Who asked me to go to Fabrika? Nobody but trouble. He led me there. Who else was going to feed me?" So all those works speak about this difficult living conditions, about hunger and poverty and so on. And also about injuries, about these machines that cut them fingers and so on. But on the other hand, they also, those oldest memories reflect the period of belief in progress, in future, belief in this sense of community, and they talk about, they relate to this emancipation that working in a factory brought to these young women. Here you, for example, can see this sentence says that this young worker bought for her first salary boots and an umbrella. And one more leitmotif that occurs all the time is this topic of heroic and competitive work. In the largest hall in Fabrika, there were tables, and women were sitting on these tables, and they were gutting fish. And the tables that made the best and most work, they were awarded with one red flag. So the red flag was placed on the dish on the table that made the most work. And the second group of works talks about this current situation of decay and decline. For example, here you can see this former building of Ambalaža factory, and the text says, "It was interesting while I was listening to former worker of Ambalaža, Katarina. I could imagine workers and loud machines in the hall. in this today's dead silence. So here children were working with their own observations. They used their own photographs and their own texts. And in the third group of works, we tried to tell children to imagine how they imagine the reactivation of those abandoned factory premises. It is maybe significant that all those proposals, among all those proposals, the touristic and consumerist contents are predominant. But there is always some kind of reminiscence on the past and on the national liberation movement during the Second World War, which is still alive in Vela Luka, on the whole island of Korčula, but especially in Vela Luka. So, for example, here you can see one of those proposals of children. This is Mall of Vela Luka, but there is also this memorial plaque that speaks about this former factory, Jadranka, that was there. And one of the proposals is also Hotel Tito with 5 red flags, where all old workers could stay for free, although there is no more living former workers there. And here one more shopping mall with the red star and one picture of Tito. One of the suggested proposals is also shelter for abandoned animals, and one is aqua park where with amazing gastronomic offer where mothers can carelessly let their children play. And only one proposal imagines renovation and the launch of new successful fish processing factory with name Nova Jadranka. And there is also one additional layer in the book where I choose fragments from documentation on the company's operations during the 1950s and 60s. And these fragments are from various tariff regulations, then regulations on wages, like here where you can see the structure of wages according to jobs. Then there are fragments of annual business plans and so on. And all those documents establish some direct or indirect links to the works, and also give to those illustrations, children's illustrations, some kind of historical documentary background. And all those 2 layers are additionally emphasized by the design of designer Rafaela Dražić, who made design of this book. So all the illustrations, she chose some kind of cardboard, special kind of packaging cardboard to print the whole book, with one white smooth side, and the other side is rough and gray. And on all these white sides, the illustrations and the works children works were printed, and the other sides were those documentary parts printed. What else can I say? And maybe just to conclude, from my perspective, the book was the ideal final outcome of this project, because it is some kind of material object that that remained in the community, that remained in local library, in school library. Every participant of the project got his example of the book, could bring it home, could show it to his or her relatives and friends, and it's something that could easily communicate with local people, and they can identify with it. And I think it is a good, it offers a good and a new insight into perception and construction of this local identity marked by industrial past. So.
Thank you very much, Božena. Now I wonder if somebody else has a question. Yes, Miha?
I wonder, is there something happening right now with this object? Are there some things going in, or are they going to be, or will it be some kind of revitalized, or?
The project is continuing, but by other artists. So one other artist is working with the factory, shipyard factory Greben in Vela Luka, and she is developing a project related to this factory. But regarding my project, this is the last phase of finish. I will not continue working on it in the future.
So the municipality doesn't have any plans with these objects?
What?
The municipality, or I don't know, are they having some?
I don't think they care about it, because it was supported by gallery from Miroslav Kraljević gallery from Zagreb, and by association gray area from Korčula. And we didn't get any support from these political levels, and they were not interested in it. We had talks, and meetings, but they didn't show any. They didn't find it interesting.
It's a matter of speculation, for sure.
Yeah,
I suppose it's a pity.
Okay. If there is some other question? No. I would just ask you then, Božena, maybe if you can just briefly explain the title, if the factory would honk.
In this first period after the Second World War, the factory didn't have a permanent workforce. So every time when fish would come, the manager, the servant of the factory would invite potential workers to gather in front of the factory, and the manager would then call out the workers who would work on gutting fish this day. So this is the story.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is really an interesting example when it comes to how to think the factory. Chiara says, very interesting presentation and project, thank you. And I think it really nicely wraps up actually this kind of social aspect of the work and what does that really mean, and also like what it left to the community. And I think it's really nice that you actually collaborated with new generation that completely lost their ties also maybe to family members, and it's the question if they are speaking about this. And I think it's nice that you said that the book is circulating around, and then it comes as an object that maybe encourages certain conversations.